Welcome back to the channel. Sorry I sound under the weather. I've been pretty sick the last couple days. Today I want to focus on a Reddit post that caused a ton of debate. Now the title is semi-clickbait, I apologize, but it did also cause some drama. The reason I'm making this video in the effort to bring us all closer together, with permission from War Damn Jarvis, he was kind and set aside time to chat with me about his post. Most of the background footage will weave in when we're talking about something specific, otherwise it'll be just the Reddit post in the background. We'll occasionally showcase as best we can footage from the spectating series as a reference. I apologize this video is so long. I'll try my best to timestamp everything we talked about, and I want to showcase unfiltered and unedited. Excited for the future and my efforts to produce, more educational content. Enjoy this video. No, actually, I actually would probably just going to post the whole thing without editing because that's always what I do,
Okay.
I'm very big on not editing down things because even whether I'm right or wrong, I like just to leave it in, just because that's my concept. Maybe like if I'm trying to get a point across and I screwed up how to teach like a real concept like tap strafing, then yeah. I apologize if I cough. I had a cold the last 24 or 48 hours. I'm on vacation, so don't feel too bad. I'm just vibing. That's all I'm doing. I'm just vibing. I'm just chilling.
I understand. We had a cold run through our house a couple weeks ago, so it's just everyone getting it, but never at the same time.
Yes. So I guess I don't know where to start this video, or what to do, but I'm just like, it's such an interesting concept because we're looking at this Reddit post, and I'm gonna be very honest. I'm probably gonna try to clickbait it a little bit because this concept is so important to me. I guess it goes above and beyond more. How have content creators gotten so out of touch with the general player base? So I'll put this in the link down in the description down below. It doesn't really matter if it gets a whole lot of views. I think the idea is that I hope that it reaches people and that it teaches on both ends, content creators, streamers, players. It's like learning the baselines and fundamentals of basketball. If we all can agree on what a fundamental is and what it is and what's too far, what's experimental and so forth, I feel like we can all learn. And the thing is, even if I'm talking, I may not even get it right because I'm just going to try to record it raw. And so, I want to pass the floor to you and get your perspective and thoughts on what you thought when posting this. I think it was good. I'm excited about it. I think the downside is that, yeah, people ran away with it 100%, and that's unfortunate, but I try to go in the comments and address as much as I could, but I really want your thoughts, and then I guess go into a debate and talk about it from there.
Yeah, I guess first thoughts, man, the Reddit post doesn't really do it, I guess, like justice. I guess it was probably over 24 hours between the time that I watched the video and I made the post. I'd just been thinking about it. So my breakdown of the video was probably not great in the post, but the general idea I felt like, and I didn't want to pin it all on you. I cannot remember the guy's name, the other guy that was in the party with you that was also commentating.
Oh, his name was his crony. Crony. He's a community member. He's not a content creator. He did play comp. He plays more casually now. He's a great guy, great person. I chatted with him a lot. He's an awesome dude.
Yeah, I didn't want to put negative on him, but the general idea a lot of times, especially the second game where you guys landed Monument and you're watching the team, the Watson team in Monument after you die, and I just remember hearing him be like, "Oh yeah, they're playing so slow," and I'm like, "All right, that's probably true." And then he gets into a little talk about "Oh yeah, we would have already evac'd on this team or this other team by now," and just basically talking about you're just moving from fight to fight as quickly as possible. And thinking about that, I feel like that strategy only works if you're the best team in the lobby. And you had been talking about how easily you guys had been kind of rolling through the ranked lobby, so that makes sense. But I just feel like a regular person, they try to do that, and they're dead before first circle closes because they're just pulling up on everything they can possibly get into.
I agree so much with that. I think that there's a middle ground to it, right? I think it's important to hear both sides, even if he's wrong. That's what we do because that's what level we play at. I 100% agree that is not for everyone in the lobby, but there is an understanding hearing, what would we do in the scenario? It'd be okay, well, we would keep pushing fights. The question is, people would ask, why would we keep pushing fights? Because right now, the MMR system is easy. It's not punishing. And because it's not punishing, a lot of players tend to play I wouldn't even say defensive. The system has, and this is the problem with the system, where players are playing for end zone, which is great. But the problem is that people have forgotten how to occupy space and tell teams, hey, do not run up on us. I think by the information that Crony is giving, and I think it was me that said it, if I'm not mistaken, that we would evac. I'm almost positive it was me. I'm going to try to take ownership of it. I think it was. I could be wrong. Even I don't even watch my 43-minute video. I just pretty much posted it. I'm going to be honest. If somebody's also curious, I don't want to get too off topic. When I make video content, I have a goal in mind, and I'll explain what the premise and goal of this video was. But I don't do reshoots, and then when I edit, I just make sure that there wasn't any cursing, and that if I was wrong, I was wrong. I leave it in there. It's like, hopefully that's a teaching moment for myself as well as I learn, because I learned a few things in the video myself.
It makes it feel a lot more genuine that way.
Yeah, because I'm not always going to be right, and I don't want to go search for, say, I must be right on this concept for this video. That's just not, it's not helpful to anybody. But the premise of evacing means, okay, then we're ready to fight, we're ready to rotate. I remember saying them going for batteries is not a bad thing. Getting the resource you need, that's perfectly fine. But even if you were to say to evac not to push a fight, but to go to zone, to fight and occupy a space, I use the word fight. When people say ape, people get confused thinking ape means that you're blindly running out in the open, not taking any cover. Sometimes rushing to the best spot in the map and then hunkering down and making sure, hey, you do not push on us, respect our space. You cannot take this space from us. Kind of like a TSM play, or any defensive team, or even if you see it, it's not necessarily just hiding in a corner. But what if a team, if you were hiding less in a corner or you weren't showcasing presence, a team can see that and they'll say, you know what, let's just run up on them. I think we can win this fight. It's a sign saying that they're not confident in the engagement, and so if somebody's not confident, those signs read to a better player. I think when
on that note, I guess rewind to the first team you guys watched that ended up winning. The Bang gets overextended, she dies. Then you have the Caustic and the Bloodhound holding that room and staging.
Mm-hmm.
And they get a few people low and never push out to finish them.
If they do it together, that's the key. Granted, one thing that people will say is that they're not on voice comms, and that's okay. I think the biggest thing that I noticed the Caustic and the other player doing is that they weren't holding a head glitch. They're kind of standing out in the open rather than using a half head glitch to, let's say, what would be a strategic angle to hold rather than just kind of doing it halfway. I think they got very lucky in that room. And
for sure. Circle just pulled to them forever.
And what if it pulled out? Even if they kind of showcased a bit more presence on the outside, I noticed that their aim wasn't as strong. But still, it's a great teaching moment, just as much as I make mistakes on my stream. And anybody makes mistakes, is like, okay, in this scenario, I could have done even better, either scaring them off or putting pressure on them. And they did it towards the end, but there was always that timing. I remember they took a little too long to heal. They took a little too long to go at least put pressure, maintain presence, and say, hey, you cannot run in here. And granted, Caustic gas is already scary and they probably won't even push it anyways. But I'd rather them any player, rely on their own confidence and feel in control of the situation. I feel like if we asked them if they felt in control, they probably would have said maybe not so much. And that's okay. I'm always asking the question, how can we do more? How can we do better? Right? And maybe that's the wrong mindset. I don't like the defeatism attitude of saying, well, I'm not the best squad in the lobby. No, you are the best. Not to the point where you have an ego and people rage on the microphone, but I would always encourage players to believe that they can do something rather than saying, I can't do that. I want players to feel empowered to say they can. And if they can't, I want to make a video about it and see how I can help explain how we can get to that point. If there's a point where it says it's the difference of a player like Asu that has 10,000 hours versus the one that has 100, well, how can we bridge that gap only 5 minutes a day? And maybe you won't ever be able to beat Asu, but you are going to start to build a lot more confidence over the course of, let's say, a couple months, even if it's just 5 minutes, right? I feel like I'm talking way too much. I apologize. I don't want anybody to comment down below and say you're not giving him the stage. You got to listen to him. And I realize, wait a minute, I'm talking. So I'm gonna pass it back to you.
Playing with confidence will just make you better. Period. I get that. I just think of, say, maybe I don't have time to play. Because I understand the more aggressive style of play will make you better in the long run, even if you're not but I also think you may not be getting the same returns as far as like ranking up as you may want. And working on limited time, I guess I wonder, where do you fall in the balance of, well, I want to get better, but like I'm also playing this game to rank up, because it's really like in a game with MMR, playing better, you may never see those returns, because when you're getting better, the enemies are getting better, and without, I don't know, if you don't want to watch KD or you don't want to watch your ranked points, how do you really like feel the improvement, feel your work paying off if you're, you know, being so aggressive that it may be negatively affecting how much LP you would gain?
Well, I think when we say aggressive, we think about taking smart fights, right? I have like rules of engagement that I think could help anybody who's listening to this video. Do you have better armors and a better health pool? So let's say you shot somebody from a distance and you did 100 damage and they had wide armor and you have purple. That means that you could potentially, there's a higher probability you could win this fight, regardless of, I guess if you are in an MMR-based lobby, that gives you the discrepancy to say, I can potentially push this. Rule number 2, are they getting third-partied? And if so, if they're getting third-party, do I have the time remaining to push this? Or should I just go to zone? There's no fault if I watched a VOD that said they're running to zone because they're going into center zone because there's only 10 seconds left. That's justifiable. 100%. I mean, it makes sense. But I don't know if I've seen that happen too much. Most of the time they will dogpile. And I think that's the wrong mindset at times. I think the hard part is that all pros and streamers, they're not trying to make educational content. They understood what helped them get better by just pushing. But I think there has to be pushing with rules. And so I guess my third rule is, are your teammates pulling focus to where you can put pressure? And if your teammates are staying in the fight and they want to stay in the fight, how can you pull focus towards you? So either alleviate it or do damage. And then, of course, if everyone's hurt, how can you use your utility to say we're leaving? Let's pop a Wraith portal. Let's get out. And that's hard if you're not in comms. But at the same time, sometimes people get stuck in thinking they have to fight. And that's really why I wanted this call was so important, because I want everyone to understand there's a difference between aping and being intelligent about an encounter. So whenever
I think that's exactly where like this conversation needs to be. I think that is maybe the disconnect is, I think people just hear playing aggressively and attribute that to like just holding W forever. And I don't think that it's always understood like the nuance of all of the little things that go into playing aggressively.
Yes.
And I think that's where people get messed up, because they're like, oh, we need to play more aggressively. Good teams are playing more aggressively, and they're not thinking about any of the 1,000 other variables that go into like being aggressive. And it doesn't have to be just we're just gonna push every fight we can possibly find.
And what's interesting about if people say, well, then how do you know in your channel? Well, let's I guess simplify this. When people watch my channel and I produce content, I have the idea that hopefully they'll watch more of my content and I can reinforce that. It's really hard every single video to go through advanced concepts like that, because maybe they'll top into my first video where it's a guide on the 30-30. What if it's a guide on a legend? What if it's an advanced tutorial on a masterclass? What if it's a coaching stream? Without going and be saying the same thing over and over again, how can I effectively teach? But of course, you can't teach something that isn't necessarily being searched. So if we're thinking about YouTube, and I produce these videos still, and I even say, I don't think this video is going to get any views, but I'm going to post it anyways, where we talk about rules of engagement, where we talk about your role, we talk about X, Y, and Z. These are, I make a strictly educational channel. I stream on every Saturday to answer as many questions as possible. That's the premise. And then I just produce guides. Even when I do well, I explain how I did well, or I explain how I could have done better. Here's a 4K damage game. This is what I could have done better. This is what I was like, wow, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I went down. Like, how can I improve? This is where I made these decisions. And the reality is, it always goes back to core ideas and rules of engagement. And I think, like you said, there's a disconnect between aping and holding W. That if you are pushing something, it means you're using cover still. It means that you're holding the crossfire for your teammate. It's like it's merging. It's like the pros and the casuals are saying the same thing. The casuals are 100% correct, and so are the pros. The casuals are saying you need to play safer and slower. Yes. But also, you have to keep in mind that some players are going to be able to play safer and smarter, but do it faster, right? It's like the difference between somebody saying, "How do you tie your shoes?" and then somebody knows how to do it just slightly faster, right? I'm horrible with analogies. I'll use some weird analogies. Everyone knows in my content I always make weird analogies, but then you start asking the question, "How did the guy tie his shoes so fast?" And then we start breaking it down. That's the concept is still there, the fundamental positioning and playing it safe, but to use the rules of engagement. Were our armors better? Did we have better positioning? Could we have been faster? Were we spending too much time looting? Were we together? Like the Bangalore in the first version, she was way out in the middle of nowhere. I had the theory, if it's okay, I'll explain what my thought process was in this video. My thought process in this video is that I felt like since 1 million people had gotten Masters, that they were tossing aside the fundamentals. I had a fear that because you achieve the badge, let's say like you are the best, you become the fastest racer, the first thing you stop doing is running on the treadmill, or you stop caring as much, excuse me, and putting in so much effort, right? So my concern was, and I've been noticing it in views, and I said, you know what? Maybe we need to go look at the players who are looking to rat, or looking to not even play with their squad. I had this happen last stream, and I got the idea. I saw one guy land in the middle of nowhere, and their team won a fight as a duo. But their Pathfinder was in the middle of the map by themselves, hiding in the upper corner, and muted his microphone and then called himself I Throw Games or something like that. I saw that one stream. And now this stream, it was like, something don't care, or like don't communicate, something along those lines. I got to go back to stream. People watch stream. Remember, I'm probably false remembering, but I just know the Pathfinder was there by himself. The concept was I was going to look for those players and explain, like Caustic won. Like, you guys won because I saw it. They beat us. They beat us when I was live streaming. I was like, they rolled up and they won. That's a great thing, but the Pathfinder didn't care. And I wanted to find those players. Those are considered, in my eyes, no matter what, because it's not that you could, everyone says there's no such thing as a bad player. I believe that, but that is a bad player. They're not even trying. You know, it's like the race started, somebody shot the gun to start running, and they just said, I'm going to sit here. I'm good. I'm not going to run at all. And it's like, what? Why? Why not even make a little bit of an effort? You can go rat still, like, but just try. You know, your teams are trying, and your teammates want to make an effort. That's what I was looking for. The thumbnail had a rat in it, and originally the video was supposed to be called Spectating Rats in Apex Legends. When we spectated around, I couldn't find the rats. I was like, maybe they're on the outskirts. They weren't. I said, well, maybe we drop hot, maybe one will run away and go rat. Okay, we could spectate that. And I could have been better about explaining it, but I'm big on just like leaving it the way it is, and my theories were just wrong. And I was like, you know what, maybe we'll just look for players that I had at any moment. I thought players were just not going to play together or not care. Like, I thought the Bangalore, honestly, for a minute there, I thought was going to run away and just go hide and not play at all. The idea was that we ran on a team that we thought was bad, but we gave them the confidence that they won the fight and they have points, so maybe they'll play out the round. Maybe we'll see how they actually play. You know, instead of players just playing, oh, I'm going to play safe, I'm going to play scared, you know, maybe give them a little boost of confidence, right? That was the idea, the premise behind it. And I'm big on not telling my thumbnail artist to redo it, because, I mean, I pay him very well, but I also want to be respectful of his time. I wasn't going to be like last minute, hey, we need to change this, I need you to do all this stuff. I was like, you know what, I'll just turn it to bad players. It's going to get press. People are going to talk about it because I put bad in the title, and everyone's going to run away with it, which they did. They really did. And but the concept,
so true.
And go ahead.
No, that's so true. Honestly, my assumption for the bang would have been, she's pred. You could tell by her movement and how fast she did everything that she was probably a lot better than her two teammates. And the way they stuck together, it made me assume they were probably a duo, and she was solo queue.
Yeah.
I honestly think it was probably a lot of playing solo queue like that, making pred in solo queue, a lot of just giving up on your teammates, on trying to work together, like after so many bad experiences, and she was just trying to move. Like, she was doing what she thought she needed to do, and I don't think she was trying to handhold her teammates, and I think that's how she ended up, you know, two POIs away by first circle. But they got back together, and maybe if her teammates had been more with her, they would all three been alive. But I guess, you know, you still win the game. That's good, but I assume that's probably their disconnect as far as like team cohesion.
And people probably
from
ask the
that club.
question, because I get this a lot. People say, if my teammates are slow and they're quote unquote bad, which I guess the title of the video, it kind of fits the theme of what I was trying to teach, is if my teammates are bad, the Caustic and the Bloodhound were not bad. In fact, at one point I pointed out that the Bloodhound had more damage than the Bangalore, which is a Pred player, right? The interesting part is you start asking the question, why did the Bang play so opposite? I'm glad they got together and started playing, but if the Bangalore, let's say, got eliminated and got pushed, the Bangalore is 100% in the wrong in that scenario if they got eliminated. But I feel like what happens is that they would get on the microphone and start yelling at their teammates. People would say, well, how do I get my teammates to push faster? You can ping, you can incentivize, you can help them loot, you can help them look for things. Whenever we're on a live stream, I don't have my comms on because I stream on YouTube. I'm out of fear of getting demonetized, which I've gotten pretty close when I've turned them on. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they said that. Like that was really like above and beyond like the line. And it was, stuff like that could get you in big trouble on YouTube.
Like you have someone do that on purpose eventually.
I'm sure it would happen. That's always my fear. I'm not the most popular YouTuber, but if somebody really didn't like me or they wanted to go out, then yeah, that would actually hurt the channel. So I was like, out of the fear, I just mute it. And then because I know of all ages probably watch the channel because I produce educational content, it's better safe than sorry. That's just the thought process. I make educational content because I enjoy making it. That's what I like doing. And I got to keep in mind that a large wide of people are going to watch it, right? But the interesting thing that we, just to also kind of answer your question and everything, that we see is that when you want a team to be faster, you have to understand there is a limit to where they're at, and then you play at their pacing. I think the Bangalore understood that, but when they're inside the building, the Bangalore had a position, but then could have used a head glitch, but then got caught out because she got white swung, right? If she was using the console area to kind of hold just as much as her teammates are holding, there's a middle ground. You have, like, it's like speed dating. There has to be a middle ground somewhere whenever you're playing with these random teammates. If they're pushing aggressively, try to meet them halfway a little bit. Try to meet them and start pushing a little bit because that's their pacing. Say, okay, we're going to go at this pace. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong, and there's no right or wrong because everyone plays a little differently. What is wrong is when people don't play together, and that's the thing. When we're looking at it, when we see,
think, I played a lot of Overwatch, and they always say, one person doing something wrong is a bad plan, but well, I guess it's 5 now, but 6 people doing it is a team plan, and I always think about that in Apex because you may have one person play way too aggressively, but if the team backs them up, maybe that's actually a good play because you're all 3 there, but so you kind of have to acquiesce to what your teammates are doing, especially in solo queue, to try to be effective as a team, even if they're not doing what you think they should be doing.
Exactly. And this is where there's a disconnect. It's just the players who spend a lot more time aren't good at communicating what they're doing. Just like any pro sports player, anybody who's a lot more seasoned, you ask them how they won the game, they're not going to be able to tell you how. I mean, I don't really classify myself as a coach per se because I don't sell services. I'm not perfect, but what I do understand as somebody with a limited schedule who doesn't have a lot of time to game, I realistically only have maybe like a couple of hours to play each night, maybe. And even then, sometimes I go days without playing, and then I just have to supplement it with aim training just to make sure I keep myself fresh. So I understand like the concept, and what my goal is to bridge that gap. I see players with triple or quadruple my time played, but how can I maintain that? Because in the past, I used to play really hardcore. How can I share what I do in my time and share it with other players so they can keep up? And even if they're not keeping up at the level which I'm keeping up, how can they learn how to keep up to a certain degree? Because this game is only going to get harder as time keeps going. Just like League of Legends, the discrepancy only gets worse as time goes on because there are going to be people who have been playing Apex since, next year will be 5 years. And there are going to be some people that are playing it just for the first time ever next year. There are some people who are going to stumble upon this channel, this post, Reddit, everything for the first time and have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a weird thing, but if you kind of plateau in your improvement, then you're actually just getting worse because the general player base is just getting better over time. So, like, anytime I've taken a break from Apex and I come back, man, am I just that bad now? And then it just takes a little while to kind of get back in, and you kind of notice, like, oh, the average player is a lot better now than they were 6 months ago.
Yeah, and it's a hard pill to swallow. I'll give an example. I'm going to be producing a video talking about aim training. I hit master score in Voltaic, which is like a benchmarking, when they first released it. Whenever I retook it at the start of this year, I was Jade. I wasn't even Diamond anymore. And I was like, wow, people have improved that much in 3 years? I was like, wow, I thought I was a master level. And I'm like, I have so much to learn still. And I went back to fundamentals this year, the start of the year, and I started training again on my off time. You know, I was like, wow, I'm falling behind. And it's amazing what, like, well, let's say we take a gold player in season 2, or the first season, ranked season. Let's just say season 4 or something, not first one, but let's just middle ground, season 4 versus gold player now, or let's use season 16. I don't know, this is an example. Their skill level is dramatically different after 4 years of what a gold player is. And it is pretty interesting to think, if you take a break and your MMR was here, you didn't get worse, people just got better. And the concepts, because I mean, if I'm producing guides and even a small group of them are watching them, then they're also improving. Everyone's improving. And even then, I feel like I'm having a hard time myself keeping up. And even the pro players who are putting the time in, they're having a hard time keeping up. Remember, there's pro players at the start of this game, and even then, they are struggling to keep up and keep pace. That's why they burn out. That's why they get tired. You know, it's like, there's how much do I have to put in to remain at the top? You know, and I mean, that question keeps changing because everyone's very hungry, right? And even for the casuals, what does that mean for them in this game? And that's my goal on the channel, and this is why I'm trying to bridge that gap, because they're not necessarily making guides and explaining what they're doing, but as I'm going through the journey, I'm trying to explain what I see, you know, or what I'm right about, what I'm wrong about. You know, evacing on every fight, it's not for everybody, but it's such a great learning tool. You can learn so much from it, even if you're making mistakes. At the end of the day, it is just a badge. And there could be right now somebody watching this video who's a gold player who has been pushing everything, but maybe not using their positioning and it didn't click for them, but maybe in 2 or 3 weeks it will. And they are already better than a majority of Diamond or Masters players because they finally got the concept down, right? It took them a little longer. Maybe their rank suffered, but to take a few steps forward, you have to take a few steps back. And that's always the mindset that I have. And people may disagree. They may say, I've been seeing on this Reddit post comments saying they don't have time, get out of here, that's not the point of the game. Well, we're all trying to win in this game. And if you queued up, you have the intention to win. And I believe that everyone can win. And maybe you're okay with that play style, and that's okay at the end of the day. I remember I had a coaching session that just didn't go well whatsoever. And I told them, I said, I actually refunded their money because I did like a limited time series on it. I gave them back their money, even though they were already 35 minutes in. And I told them, I said, I'll give you a free session if you like, but it's okay to play the game the way you want to play. My only caveat, and I left them with this thought, I said, don't get upset. Please do not get upset if you lose, because it's not your teammates' fault and it's not your fault. Enjoy the game. Enjoy what it is, but do not rage at your teammates. And what I've been seeing as of late, for especially people at the high level, and I've run into this, is that they get very upset. They get very defensive, and they're quick on the mic to start blaming their teammates when it's not always your teammates. It could be you. And even if it is you, it's okay if it's you. People make mistakes, but don't yell at your teammates. And also for the other people on the other side, don't yell at the individual because they're not up to par. Be supportive of it. Just like, I mean, anybody who's watched my streams, I'm like, I always say, man, I could have done this better. My mindset is if I was so good at this game, I would be able to carry everybody of every single skill level on this game. And because I can't, I got room for improvement. I could communicate better off mic. I can watch their angles. I can hold for them. I can land more shots. I can do better as a teammate. And I've yet to see that day. I had rounds where I'm like, man, I really did well for this team. And then I go the next round and I die off rip and I'm like, gosh, that was my fault. I didn't get the gun right away. I'm like, maybe if I played more patient with my teammate, I was trying to get the gun and play a little aggro here, but I wasn't behind cover. I screwed up. That happened on stream. I was Vantage. I landed antenna. I got a Mozambique. I saw the Nemesis. I got greedy, and then I got blasted by 2 other people. My teammates did land nearby, but I got greedy for the gun. If I backed up, repositioned, went to my teammate, that would have been much better, and just settled with the Mozambique. I got greedy on loot. It's as simple as that. But I'm not going to go on the mic and be like, how come you guys didn't let us start? How come you push fast enough? You got to push. How come you don't fight? You know, like, that's crazy. That's crazy to have that anticipation of another player. But if you're watching the spectating series, the whole premise is to dissect what we all could do differently. You know, I mean, just as much as I look at my gameplay, that's what I do. I apologize, I'm talking too much. People in the comment section are like, please don't destroy me, and people on Reddit, please be kind.
I know that you're too nice to say it directly, but I know when you read that post, you had something in mind that I just didn't understand or completely comprehend from the video, and I really want you to go into like what that thought was, because I'd like to use this opportunity to learn.
I think it's just what we talked about, that aping doesn't mean just shoving, that occupying space doesn't mean throwing bad positioning. Like an example, when the caustic was there, even because it looked like they were on, like you mentioned, they looked like they were on comms together. If you said, come with me, let's go shoot this guy in this corner together, and they hold that angle and put pressure and then move up to their position together, but they're doing it together, right? Even if they're not doing together, if you notice your teammate's kind of floundering, then one person has to follow the other player, right? Even if my teammate does something really, really dumb, I'm going to at least cover them the best I can and then be there for them until it doesn't make any more sense. The idea is that you're always using half head glitches, that you're always using cover, that you're playing together, that you're watching each other's crosses. That was my mindset looking at this video. And it's not necessarily the title of the video, and I'm going to use the same title for next week as a part 2 and a follow-up, and I'll try to reinforce that thought. I'm looking for the rats and the bad players that do not even care about the squad, have no respect for their teammates. The Bangalore almost did it, but played with the team. I think that was great. I was so fearful for a minute there. It didn't happen. I even said, I was like, I can't remember if I said it or not, and I wish I did if I didn't, that the Bangalore was all the way over on the southern side of the map, and the other guy was 2 POIs away. And I said to myself, are they going to go rat? I'm like, oh, no. Like, what if they get caught out? Like, oh, man, like, what's going to happen here? You know? And it was a blatant disrespect to the teammates. It's okay to be pushed up. Let's say if they heard a fight and they're moving towards it, but they were, like, poking from a distance, trying to say, hey, guys, come over, come over. I've done that before. You know, like, give them the incentive to come over. Maybe you get a knock and they get excited because they see that there's potential. Oh, we can do this, right? Kind of build up team morale. The premise that when I read this, and I want everyone to understand, is that aping does not mean not playing cover. It means, do you have the armor advantage? Do you have your squad together? Can you see your teammate as they're pushing in? Are you using your utility to cover for them? Are you using utility to push in, to push out? All those things really matter. And I mean, scrolling through this, it gets crazy. Pros and streamers want tough and sweaty games. Pros and streamers complain about queue times, meanwhile playing 4 a.m. in the morning. It's like everyone is getting really negative about the topic, but that's not what the point of the video was. And it's just,
Well, I think they heard negativity towards streamer, so let me bring my own baggage in and pile on all streamers, even though, like, your name was only there to reference the video. Like, it wasn't meant to, like, come out as something super negative against you. It just felt like what I took from the advice in the video felt like it was, you just gotta, go fight more people. You guys are playing too slow. You need to go take more fights. And then it's my own misunderstanding of what you guys were saying about, more of the controlled aggression and, taking the space and showing presence without, putting yourself in, without overextending or anything like that. And I think that this whole thing comes back to is people here, you need to play more aggressively, and they think that there's no middle ground between, we're going to hold this building, we're not going to step foot outside, and all right, we're throwing our faces at every single player we see, no matter where they are or what they're doing. And I think, like, bridging that gap is, like, the whole point of this video and this post. And I think that's the whole thing.
Like an example, there are situations where you can pretty much face plant something, and I think everybody will run at it at this point. Let's say you had red armor, you hit somebody with a grenade for 70 damage, and you hit another guy for 20, and you see that they're also white. Just run at them. You win. There's not much scenario where you're going to lose that unless you're not together. At that point, it should be kind of a faceplant to go in, because You got a massive grenade. You created an opening. They're on white armors. They're barely holding. You win. You
Played
can win
some
that.
Vantage lately, and the second you're in third or fourth circle and you see a blue and a white, that's you're full sending that team no matter what. Just because you assume like they're either bad or they just respawn. We should have
Yeah,
a big advantage no matter what.
and the idea is to clear your back. You don't want that team putting pressure on you while you're in the building. Let's say you're fighting in the front and they're ratting, which is what they're going to hopefully do. I mean, I've done it too. We're like, guys, we can't fight. We got bad armors. Let's wait for the opportunity. If you get pushed in the building, what are they going to do? They're going to shove right after. They're going to do exactly what we say that people should do. Like, they're going to run in there. Of course they're going to. If they see all the knocks and they say, oh my gosh, we can go in. We have white armors, but we can do this. Of course, their confidence is going to go through the roof. So there again, it's and I can be better about this. I try to highlight this in videos as much as possible, but maybe every single video I try to reiterate what it means. I had somebody in the comment section I've been also trying to get into a Discord call to help break this down because we're all saying the same thing, but we all have to come together on it to talk about what it means to actually, fight and push the fundamentals. And so that's hard. And I can be better about it. I always try to make the assumption that people are going to watch more of the content, but I can do better by trying, like, especially in the spectating series, assume that they haven't watched the others. Because, I mean, granted I put part 26, and there's a lot of other videos where I put it there, and I have guys talking about cover and positioning and half head glitches and everything, but not everyone's going to watch every single video. So maybe if I just always use it as a reinforced habit, maybe I can also help other players. I think it's just taught me the language I need to use to try to help others.
I think the premise was good. I think your premise for the video was good. It didn't work out like you wanted it to, and you keep like referencing it in the video, and it kind of made me laugh because it's a lot like the spectating videos where you just don't die, and you're like, yeah, sorry guys, I know you're supposed to be spectating, but you can still learn stuff here and there, and I mean it's the same idea. I think the premise was good. I don't know, it was kind of you weren't prepared for that team to actually do what they did, but I think like the MMR issues this season, I kind of thought originally you were looking to just show that like you guys were having such an easy time in your games that maybe the MMR was just broken and you were just going to find not bad ratting players, but just, like unprepared players to be in, a master's level lobby.
With the MMR, it's been so confusing. I honestly don't even know what to expect anymore. I'm gonna be honest; it's very confusing. It's I don't know if it's working or if it's not working. I don't really know what the MMR is waiting. And so I guess this was such a hard spectating series because it was the same. I did label it part 26 because I kind of wanted to make it part of the series because I assume after doing like one more that a new system would come out and then we would just keep going and I would go back to the old naming convention. But of course, I think we all needed to kind of humble ourselves. I need to look for the people that aren't trying and then say why we need to try again. Like, I know the system doesn't reflect, and I've had a lot of people say this, your badge, and I understand that, but you're more than a badge, right? It doesn't mean you have to stop trying or practicing or your love for the game goes away. Or maybe the badge was just the biggest incentive, and maybe this is another teaching moment for me and Respawn or anybody that there needs to be better in-game results. I don't know. Everyone's passion for the game is a little different, and maybe the badge really does mean that much. I don't want it to mean that much to people because that shouldn't be the end goal. It should be always to be a better teammate or a better player or better support or a better entry, better X, Y, and Z. Not necessarily. You could be a master at entry, but horrible support. You can be a pred level anchor, but then you don't even know how to entry frag. There's different fundamentals that we all can learn. And that's, I don't know, want to loop around too much. And hopefully the goal is clear. And I appreciate immensely for hopping in and just chatting about this. I found every response so interesting. And I was like, wow. I am like, I didn't know how to process everything that I was seeing.
I'll be honest. I posted it at I think it was 1 or 2 yesterday afternoon, and I didn't look at it again until today. and I was on my lunch break, and I opened Reddit, and it was just it went from 20 or 30 likes in an hour to 1.2 thousand, and then just 300 and something comments, and I went through reading all of them, and it just snowballed. It snowballed so quick into the negative, and uh, it really wasn't supposed to be.
Yeah.
I what I took from it, I felt like, was I was just like, oh, only the best teams in the lobby can play as aggressively as they're telling them to, and those people don't need to be told how to play. So I was feeling like the advice you were giving was not good advice for the whatever 95% of other players. But it was more of, yeah, I guess I didn't understand the advice as well.
And listen, I
And,
could always be better at explaining it. It just doesn't mean I'm perfect at explaining either. And there's people who went opposite spectrum trying to support me and then being mean about it. And I don't condone that either, by people saying like they're getting spoon fed their badges. Like, dude, stop. I appreciate people trying to be supportive, but that's not the point. Like, don't be negative to others. Respect them. I think at the end of the day, people need to respect the casuals, like I just mentioned, and the casuals need to respect the pros. Doesn't matter how much time you put in this game. We're all putting time into the game. There's no reason to get mad at each other, but I don't think that anybody's infallible to criticism. Just as much as you've given criticism, and the series could be better. Next week, whenever I do it, I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to give it another shot. I'm going to try to explain it even better and use it as I'm going to do the same thing. I want to try to look for a team that just doesn't want to try, and we're going to land on them and see what they do, and try to give criticism on where they are succeeding and criticism on where they're not succeeding. Because these players, it's clear that they can do stuff. I know they can. Now, it's just a matter of, like, let's say afterwards they go and rat and go and hide. Look at all the opportunities that they could possibly be doing something that could help them improve or have them even have fun. Unless, I don't know, maybe somebody out there, maybe I'm wrong, and just having fun, just sitting in a corner ratting. By all means, do you, if that's what you do, but it kind of sucks that you're kind of ruining the experience for two others that maybe want to play with you, right?
Well, and also the system really doesn't incentivize being like playing aggressively. Like from diamond and above, I think I maybe had a handful of games where I actually got any LP for eliminations, and like like my squad plays slower, but not nearly like the okay, we're gonna hang out in this corner for the entire game, but it's the scanning beacons and then trying to pre-rotate and all that, and then there's just no incentive to fight if you don't have to outside of I'm bored.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the way I look at it is that you can get your paycheck and you can work, and then you could just do the bare minimum, right? Or you can put an honest day's work and get the same paycheck. I don't think there's a right or wrong there, right? At the end of the day, this paycheck is still the same. The points that you get at the end of the day are still the same. I would prefer to put a good, honest work so I feel proud of what I did that day. If I'm just going to kind of half it, maybe I should go play a different game. I'm not telling people that you shouldn't play Apex, but I am telling people that if it isn't bringing you happiness or joy, then you probably shouldn't be playing Apex. Like it's counterintuitive. If there's teammates that are upsetting you, if you're upsetting yourself, take a break. It's okay, or don't play it. You don't have to play it, right? The game is addicting. I mean, I'll admit it is addicting. That's why I'm hopping to a call, because I'm passionate about the game. It's why you made the post. You're passionate about the game. It's like I'm on vacation and I enjoy this kind of stuff, man. It's crazy. It's like, I don't know. But I just appreciate immensely. If people happen to listen through I don't plan on cutting any of this. I'm going to be honest. But throw it all up there. If this gets 500 views, whatever. If it gets a lot of views, I guess it's great. I hope that whether people agree with me or not, the whole thing is that we come together and we understand what that means. And it means that I'm going to try even harder on my content, and I see the flaws in what I'm doing and wording just as much as any streamer. And we all have to be better about that. Maybe a streamer could watch this and they'll say, okay, I'm going to use this wording going forward to try to convey what I'm trying to say. We all can be better at that. And maybe that'll even help Respawn make a better game. That'd be awesome,
Sure.
The idea is, rather than coming at each other's throats, that we're being collective, because there's a casual mindset is right in a lot of areas, and so is a pro mindset, but there is a middle ground there. Without pros, the casuals have nothing to aspire to. Without casuals, nobody's even giving the pros or streamers or anybody any sort of watch time, and the game doesn't grow, right? You need both to thrive. They exist for a reason. Just like any sport. If we didn't have any NFL or NBA, anything, I don't know if people would be playing basketball as much. Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. I don't know. Some people are very passionate from watching the sport, right? The casuals mean everything. The pros mean everything. The community means everything. It sounds like I'm pandering or whatever, but I just, that's what I do. This is my content. That's why I leave stuff unedited. So people hear it. I literally got to the computer. I was sick last night, came here and recorded it, and here we are. And it's like raw. You know, that is, it is 100% what it is. I'll give you the link afterwards. I might maybe put a prefix in the intro saying what happened. I am going to clickbait it because, listen, I need people to click the video so we can get this point across. If I title the video, what we learned in Apex Legends, there's no context of what this is.
Nope. And you need something specific.
Yeah, apparently people always gravitate towards negativity. It really sucks.
I mean, look at the post.
Yeah.
That Reddit thread, that's all the negativity.
It's crazy.
Right there.
It's crazy how people gravitate towards negativity. So if I got to use a title that has something negative, but then spin it as a positive, I'm going to try that every once in a while. You know, even for this title, if it's addressing the drama on Apex Legends, something along those lines, that's a good title. Some people may click on it.
For sure. But, and I mean, you may get people. You get any of the people that were active in the thread, then that's a double win right there because they're already invested.
Heck, we'll do a part 2. You know, like if there's like a bunch of people that are super upset, I'll do a part 2. This isn't the goal of my channel. Wasn't just to prop myself up. It was to get immersed in the community and improve. I want to improve just as much as you guys. I have limited time and limited schedule. What does this mean if everyone starts to change their play style and mindset? How do they change ranked? Everybody is important in that because we're all a statistic at the end of the day, for better or for worse, you know? On
kind of
the
funny
rank
because
system.
it's just one of those situations where I see the video, I'm like, man, I don't really agree with Dazz. And it's almost as if like I'm just telling my friends, and all of a sudden Dazz is like, hey, let's talk about it. And I'm like, I was very unprepared to need to defend this.
You don't need to defend anything. You weren't wrong. I don't think you were wrong at all.
I came into this call just assuming that there was I guess like things I didn't understand or viewpoints I didn't grasp, and I wanted to grasp those more than I felt like I needed to, like, all right, this is my point. I need to defend it this is the hill I die on. Is that I did not like what he said in that video.
Yeah. And then hopefully everyone sees that, but also sees that it wasn't necessarily saying that I'm right, because it wasn't. There's a lot of variables, and it's hard to get all the variables. Apex is a hard game. It's a complex game. It's why I find it addicting. It's fun. But at the end of the day, it's like when we look at this, we see, I mean, seeing everyone passionate about it means that this game has legs to stand on, right? I would say that's a positive here. If people are this upset, that means that this game has a future. If nobody replied to this post, maybe we'd be screwed. I don't know. Maybe that's a bad thing.
You said you don't use Reddit a lot. Did someone just have to come to you and be like, hey...
Yeah, actually they came to me and
said... There's this post on Reddit. You're not going to like it.
It actually came to Discord. Somebody said, what are your thoughts about it? And my first response was, I feel like the community is out of touch. Like, they say content creators out of touch. I feel like everyone's out of touch. Think about this whole premise. Everyone is out of touch. You know, like, we're all calling each other out for being out of touch, but technically everybody is. The casual players out of touch. Like, if they got masters, think about the system. Think about the pros. Think about everyone's perspective. And everyone thinks that they're right, but nobody's willing to take a middle ground anywhere and figure out how to improve the system. I don't think that the system is bad. I made a video about it. I said I think that there's some good in it. I think it needs tweaks. And I think then we're solid.
Do you think it's a better template for ranked in the future than the old system? Because I do, and I've caught a lot of flack from the people I've talked about it with, but I think the current system is like a better template for ranked in the future. Just needs an overhaul in how the points are allocated.
I feel like a lot of thought went into it like that, and I know that it's so broken on the end of like how if you just keep playing, you keep ratting, you go up, but there's solves for that. And I think that you're right. I agree. I think, and I even premise this in my other video. Technically, any system can work as long as the community rallies around behind it and says, yes, this works. maybe there's other systems that could work better, but we're in the current one, and so I'm looking at what we solved. I feel like smurfing is less of a problem. I've run into less cheaters.
Absolutely.
Uh, I do feel like the lobbies are sometimes more balanced. I guess I'm just. I guess in the past, I'd always run into like the same person over and over again. That still happens, but it's not as
Well,
bad.
as someone at the top of the ranked system, how do you feel about a lot of the reasons they felt like they needed to change the ranked system was because the old system, the way the incrementing buy-ins kept going, once you hit a certain rank, you had to be getting a third place and 8 kills to go even. So do you think how do you feel about the such a radical change in the system when one of the biggest complaints only affects 1% of the players?
I don't think the 1% of the players are always right. I mean, one thing I did enjoy was how a little bit more relaxed it was, and not every round felt like I had to be on like pins and needles. But we do kind of need the pins and needles to a degree. It's like I guess the question is how much pressure do we need to play well, right? If there is absolutely no pressure, which is where the current system sits, where it's like, oh, if I just chill until 10th place, I'm good. Then it may
Yeah,
not be doing
this
its
system definitely not a lot of pressure. You
yeah.
can just hang out and wait for people to die and go positive.
But I don't think that's bad either. But I think there's a middle ground. Maybe once you hit higher rank, that's whenever the pressure starts coming up, and then maybe the rank system changes a little bit. But in terms of people playing ranked and getting their feet wet, I think it's important that they have that kind of feeling, that it's not so daunting and overwhelming. I bet you Respawn's going to pull numbers and say more people have played ranked than ever. It's possible because everyone thinks that getting a higher rank is easier, right? And maybe
Yeah,
the
do you
old
think it's going to have as big of a negative impact as people keep saying for, say, people that are first-time masters this season that may struggle to get into Diamond in a new system? Do you think that's going to have such a negative impact on the player base?
Oh, that's a tough one. I had to say that next season, when we see a lobby full of 60 players in Masters trails in pubs, I think people are going to get really upset. I think that's one reaction that people are going to have. And then number two, I think that players who got Masters and in the next system is a little more challenging and they can't get to that same spot, they're going to question what went wrong. And I don't want people to get discouraged. That's why I said the badge doesn't mean anything. And it's okay if this guy had put 10,000 hours more than you and is just a little bit better. You know? I mean, there's definitely people watching this video that are better than me who put a fraction of the time, and if they put in even like a couple hundred more hours, they could probably be better than me. I guarantee
Where do you
it.
think, in that same vein, where do you think players looking to improve should, I guess, like where are the signs of improvement that you could really see? Like, I feel like KD is a bad way to look at it. Your rank is a bad way to look at it. I'm not sure, like, what benchmarks are you willing to
That's so hard.
look
It's
at
such a
to
good
see the
question.
improvement?
To see the improvement. That's such a good question. And my response and how I currently play is how well did I play with my squad? Did I do what I needed to do? Was I able to clutch out a knock and then help them out? Was I holding their cross? Did I do better in that fight? If I ended the round and won with only 2 kills, I guess I did well. But I also would question early on, could I have instructed my team to play this better? Could I have given incentive for my teammates to do this instead? Could I have motivated my team more? Could I have rotated better? Could I have chosen a better spot to hold? I think those are the questions we should all be asking ourselves as you're fighting. If you go through your VOD and you won and you got 10 kills, maybe ask the question, if I held better positioning here, could I have gotten 13? Or if my teammate went down, how could I have avoided my teammate going down? That's a really good one. Stop focusing on some of the things where it's like it's their fault for going down. Maybe it was your fault for letting them go down, right? Maybe
You
they were
said something
healing.
in the exact same video talking about, man, I'm trying to remember the exact verbiage you used, but it was basically if someone's pulling the aggro, it's your job as their teammate to pull it back to you.
Yes.
I think you can make an entire. I'd watch an entire video on that concept by itself because I think it's super important.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are just thinking about themselves in the fight and what they're doing, and I think you bring it more into like a what is the team doing and what can I do to alleviate pressure from my teammate who's getting beamed over here.
I
I think that's a
agree.
really good concept that I've never thought about like directly. So I think it could probably help a lot of people.
I 100% agree. The hard part I struggle with, and I still make the videos anyways, um, is one, making it an effective video within a timely manner, because I don't always have the most amount of time. What I do really want to make that video now. I'm gonna put it on my list. I have like a list. If somebody comments and says a video, I write it down and I just try to go through concepts. That's why I'm so excited. I was going through a dry spout of like, what do I post? Because people aren't searching for these concepts because they don't know to look for them, which is a downside. So if I say, if I title the video, um, what to do when your teammate pulls aggro, people are like, what does that mean? They may not click on the video, but maybe I need to be better with my titles, such as how to be a better squad mate and support your team, or but like like I guess that would be the title. It's hard because then like when they come in the video, what are they expecting? And if we talk about aggro pull, what does that mean? And are they going to understand it effectively? But you bring up such a valid point. I'm definitely going to make that video to be on the channel. I know next week I'm making a video strictly on hitboxes, and
While we're on this like tangent, I think something a lot of people that don't understand, especially people that change legends very frequently, is height. Different legend heights is going to affect your muscle memory
oh, it
in
does.
fights, and it kills me every time I like I'm two away from the end of getting a 3K on all the legends and changing between them from a pathfinder to like a lifeline is like the game feels like I'm playing a completely different game. I've got to relearn like all this other hip fire muscle memory because I'm playing a foot off the ground instead of 10 feet off the ground.
It's
And then you have new places like Caustic has some like nasty head glitches on World's Edge, and I'll walk up as Vantage or Wraith or anyone, and all of a sudden I can't see over this box.
it is crazy the difference, and it's all for better or for worse. And like when I play Vantage versus Watson, Watson can get away with a lot by running into a building because she's really small. But when I'm Vantage, I can't get away with as much. I might just get beamed and get
Yeah.
pressured, and I can't win certain scenarios as comfortably at a higher level. So
Vantage also, her tactical, I swear, is the loudest sound in the
yeah,
game by far. Like a rocket's taking off to your right, and it's just Vantage going like 15 feet to a bank.
agreed. So this video isn't too long. I'll still chat with you afterwards. But out of fear, people were saying you guys were just kept going on and on.
Oh, yeah.
Probably, which it's just okay.
For sure.
I'm okay with that. It's it is what it is. But I just want to give a shout out to you. Thank you so much for hopping in and just taking
problem.
a time out of your day just to chat with me. It means the world, and I hope that it helps reach other players as well. And I don't know, maybe we can continue to build something. That's literally what I do on the channel. So when you talk about hitboxes, that's the whole. I try hard, and sometimes I nail it, and sometimes I have to redo the video and then get it right the next time. I do that all usually when again people don't know. I usually just make videos on my lunch break. That's when I make videos. And then I usually don't have all the time in the world, and sometimes if I didn't get it right the first lunch break, I delay it, I do it the next day, and then that's why I don't have like a consistent always upload. I always promise 2 videos a week in one stream. That's like the best I could do.
I just appreciate you talking to me about it because I feel like a lot of people would have got on, seen the negativity, and either just wrote it off because I'm sure as a content creator it kind of comes with the territory. But I like appreciate the essentially just the breakdown. Like okay, like this is your side, this is my side, and we're gonna talk it out. And I feel like that probably would have helped a lot of people that also didn't agree with the video.
Yeah, and there's so much more in text. Like even as much as we said, I guarantee people are going to take things out of context and then spin it however way they want to view things, right? And that's okay as long as nobody really takes it in a negative way, but as long as it's reinforced with a positive way that we can continue to push the scene, that's...
Well, and yet people going off of my terrible reenactment of what the video was like, and then they never saw the video, so all they read was, the paragraph from a day later that I wrote, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's horrible." And it's like, go watch the video, and then maybe you'll understand more. But I like once it became a bigger thing, I was like, man, I really should have had a more accurate description in the post. I never expected it to, blow up at all.
No
I was just
worries.
venting a little bit.
What I'll say, like, I'm gonna check the recording, make sure all is good. But I had to say thank you guys so much. Leave a comment down below your thoughts, and we'll see you guys. I mean, hey, if you guys want a part two, we'll do part two. We'll see what happens. All right, I'll see you guys on the next one.